which is the controversy. Where did the controversy come? A lot of people saying, what did Nick Cannon say? A lot of people missed that. They said, I didn't see it. Well, let's show what Brother Nick Cannon actually said. And I want to hear Brother Demetric's thoughts on it. And I want to hear y'all thoughts on it as well in the comment section. Let's check it out. Let's see what Brother Nick said. What did he say? Here we go. Here it is right here, family. This is what he said.
So let's go to what it really is then. When we talk about the power of melanated people, when we talk about who we really are as gods, and understanding that our melanin is so powerful and it connects us in a way that the reason why they fear black, the reason why they fear is because the lack that they have of it. So then when you see what Dr. Francis C. Rusling talked about is that fear in that
genetic annihilation
efficiency of when you have a person that has the lack of pigment, the lack of melanin, that they know that they will be annihilated. So therefore, however they got the power, they have the lack of compassion. That melanin comes with compassion. Melanin comes with soul. That we call it soul. We soul brothers and sisters. That's the melanin that connects us. So the people that don't have it are a little, and I'm gonna say this carefully, are a little less, and where the term actually comes from, because I'm bringing it all the way back around to Minister Farrakhan, to where they may not have the compassion or the when they were sent to the mountains of Caucasus, when they didn't have the power of the sun, that the sun then started to deteriorate them. So then they're acting out of fear, they're acting out of low self-esteem, they're acting out of a deficiency. So therefore, the only way that they can act is evil. The only way they have to rob, steal, rape, kill, and
fight or flight,
in order to survive.
Exactly.
So then these people who didn't have what we had, and when I say we, I speak of the melanated people,
right?
They had to be savages. They had to be barbaric. Because they're in these Nordic mountains. They're in these rough, torrential environments. So they're acting as animals.
Right.
So they're the ones that are actually closer to animals. They're the ones that are actually the true savages. And then they built up such this I won't say warrior, but they built up such this conquering barbaric mentality that they're coming out of Europe. They then said, in order for us to survive, we have to take what's not ours. And then they went into the land that actually where we all originated. And instead of trying to make friends, they said, we want what you got, because there's this mentality of whether it's the Caesars or even that we have to conquer.
Right.
So I say all that to say the context. And when we speak of whether it's Jewish people, white people, Europeans, the Illuminati, they were doing that as survival tactics to stay on this planet.
Right, because
we never had to do that.
Right, because they've learned when they circumnavigated the globe and they ran into these islands and these places, and we were already there to greet them.
Right. With open arms.
Teaching them, but then when
they were deficient.
They were deficient, so they wanted to get what they thought we had, and we did have it. So the rape took place of the woman. The theft took place of the natural resources.
And then that's when their disease,
exactly,
that's where their mentality, because I'm trying to get to that place of how they were able to get control over the gods. How they were able to get control over their
once they
people.
learned that, though, and now they raped and impregnated, left and came back, and they saw the child lighter, they said, wow, that's when they learned genetics, genetic annihilation. So now you have to set up a system of white supremacy to control that.
Right.
So now we have 13 families here, Illuminati that's manipulating and controlling subgroups. Now we got to set up organizations
coming out of Europe.
You understand what I'm saying? And for that same system, now you're talking about survival, what you just laid out. Now it's fight or flight. Now we have to set up these systems in order to survive.
Right.
But listen, not just survive to get some damn some hamburger buns and some cheese. I'm talking about on a genetic level.
On the genetic, because they will, and that's even from the white nationalists to the white supremacy mentalities to Donald Trump himself wanting to build walls.
Right.
They're trying to keep what they consider purity.
Exactly, on a subconscious level. Because sometimes they don't know why they acting out.
It's just been proven. It was National Geographic just put it out by 2050. Every person will be a person of color
in a minute.
They saying that's as soon as 2050.
So there it is, family. That is the famous clip, I guess, got brother in trouble. So, brother Dimitri, what's your thoughts on all that?
Well, brother Ben, you know, what's fascinating to me is that as I see both of our great brothers, Professor Griff and Nick Cannon, they're sitting in a studio setting that has been designed like a library. And as I listen to my great brother, Nick Cannon, I listen to him share information that is the result of his study and is the result of his inquiry and his reading of books. Because I'm familiar with much of the information and the sources from which he has drawn that information, I recognize books like The Chalice and the Blade. I recognize information from the Iceman Inheritance. I recognized in his conversation information from the ISIS Papers, Dr. Francis Cress Welsing's great book. I recognize aspects of the teachings of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad. And I think that instead of an apology, it may have been a better course for our brother to do something that I saw Minister Farrakhan do and I saw his representatives do when I came into the Nation of Islam. I came into the Nation of Islam as a teenager in the early 90s. And this is before the age of social media. This is before the YouTube era. And what oftentimes many of Minister Farrakhan's best ministers would do, they would come out on a stage, they would come to the rostrum, and they would have a stack of books. I think they say it nowadays as showing your receipts. So our brother was speaking from a place of knowledge and enlightenment. And quite frankly, this highlights the fact that there is information that is given to the general public, and it differs from information that scholars read and study and publish. And so oftentimes that which the scholars know to be true, the general public has never heard of. So when the general public hears what the scholars have said, they oftentimes are very shocked at what the scholars have said. And so I think that our brother was pressured to make an apology based upon threats and intimidation, particularly with respect to him invoking the name, the noble name of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. Brother Ben, going all the way back to 1994, the Anti-Defamation League of B'nai B'rith proposed a policy of engagement with the ministry of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. And in a report called Mainstreaming Anti-Semitism, the Legitimation of Louis Farrakhan, Stephen Freeman of the ADL said, you know, we can't stop Farrakhan, but what we can do and what we must do is place an obligation on all who deal with him or give to him a platform from which he can share his message. In other words, they said that we will punish all who share their platform with the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. And it is unfortunate that our beautiful brother, who is like a baby in knowledge, a baby in wisdom, a baby in his growing understanding, like many of us were, he has not mastered the knowledge that he is learning. However, he's in a position to influence millions, even with his infant knowledge of truth and the knowledge of self. And so because he is in such a high profile position, any position to influence millions, to cause millions of his fans and his supporters to come and investigate the wisdom that he has been feeding from, to look into things that they haven't prior to looked into before, our brother was set upon, because those who are in power, who rule America, are engaged in something that the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan described as the deliberate dumbing down of the American people. This hiding of the light to keep the masses of the American people feeding from forms of entertainment that don't educate and enlighten the masses, but feed filth and debauchery to the masses. And our brother represents one of many athletes and entertainers who are in this season of racial upheaval and political turmoil, are privately in the confines of their own home awakening to truth that heretofore they had not been awakened to before. And they are excited and they want to share what they are learning with those who admire and follow them. And this is all that our brother did. And we stand with our brother, and our prayers are with him, and our love is with him, because we understand, you know, Brother Ben, there's a principle in law that confessions made under duress are inadmissible in courts of law. In other words, we know the true heart and the true sentiment of our brother, and that which he was forced to do in order to save his career. We are not paying attention to that, because we understand he operates in a world that he does not control. And so we hope that our brother will go within himself and continue to study, to continue to be enlightened. And our prayers is that Allah gives him the courage and the wisdom to continue in his journey towards self-knowledge and the enlightenment of all of those who admire him.